Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Florida. Right now, more specifically, we are in Bartow, Florida. And after this, we're going to head over to Wildwood Cemetery, just a couple miles down the road. And I'm going to show you some interesting graves over there. But there's an interesting filming location in front of me right now that I'm going to show you. And I think you'll recognize it as soon as you see it. Now, if you ever watched the movie My Girl with Dan Aykroyd as the funeral director, this was the Sultenfuss Funeral Parlor. It looked a little bit different then. It's obviously been fixed up quite a bit. But if you are a fan of the My Girl film, this was the home. There were a lot of memorable scenes shot here, but Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis, Anna Klumsky, Macaulay Culkin, this all happened right here. It's a beautiful house. There is an interesting person laid to rest here, and it's kind of weird walking through a cemetery in shorts in December, so that part is a little bit strange. But there's two interesting people in this cemetery, one of which is a really interesting story, although there are some disputes. But they call him the oldest man in the United States, or the oldest man in America. Supposedly he lived, born before the Civil War, and he had quite a story, and I'll tell you a little bit more as we get closer. But supposedly he lived to be 137 years old. His name was Charlie Smith, and we're going to go visit his final resting place now, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the man. So let's go. So as I said, this guy's name was Charlie Smith, and he was born in 1842 in Liberia. And what happened was, supposedly he was kidnapped and brought to the United States when he was 12 years old, sold into slavery in Louisiana to a Texas rancher. And later research said that he probably was not born around 1842. People say that he was born probably closer to 1874. I believe they did some kind of a bone test and said that he really was not as old as he claimed to be. But, that is in debate, and nobody will probably ever know. But he is known as being the oldest man in America at the time. And he is just over here. Charlie Smith, America's oldest man. July 4th, 1842 to October 5th, 1979. Now, if those dates were true, that would have made him 137 years old when he passed away. And I don't know about you, but if you were born in 1842 and you lived through the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, the invention of TV, the internet, back in 1842, no running water, nothing. The amount of things that this guy would have seen is pretty incredible. Now, he was invited to do a lot of interesting things throughout his life. In 1972, he was invited to watch the launch of Apollo 17 from the VIP area at Kennedy Space Center. And he made a comment about something about there's nobody going to the moon. He was an interesting guy. He lived here in Bartow. He died here on October 5th, 1979. Just a really interesting life. Supposedly, he told stories about chasing Billy the Kid and going on rides with Jesse James back in the day. And he was on an episode of PBS, a TV series called Visions that was called Charlie Smith and the Fritter Tree. And just a really interesting guy. A lot of things that are not known about him, though. And like I said, there is a lot of dispute whether he was born in 1842 as he claimed, or if he was actually born, closer to 1872 to 1874. But either way, he lived well over 100 years old. If you believe what he said, he made it to 137 years old. So kind of crazy to think about. Charlie Smith. Now, one of the interesting things about covering cemeteries in different parts of the country is that up north where we usually do videos like this, you do not see palm trees in the middle of the cemeteries. This is definitely something different from the usual. But it is pretty. Now this definitely looks like a southern grave or above ground tomb. Hugh Ware and Ada Lee. This is definitely old. That's definitely different. Now this is something I've never really seen before. Here is a tombstone right here. And here's one of the small flat gravestones that usually go in the ground. This one is just kind of here and leaning up against the tomb. Never seen that before. Now, if you are a fan of professional football, you may know this name. And this is Ken Riley. He lived from 1947 to 2020, and he played his entire career with the Cincinnati Bengals. He first started in 1969, and he played a long time. I think he played until he's 1983, I think. He had a really long career. He was a good player. I mean, he was a kind of a franchise star, and he was inducted posthumously to the Football Hall of Fame, I believe, in 2023. But Ken Riley is right over here. Kenneth Jerome Riley. Barbara Moore, his wife, married May 3rd, 1969. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. That is beautiful. A mom's love and a dad's legacy list their children and grandsons. And there would be his A&M football and his Bengals helmet. Pro Football Hall of Famer Ken Riley. Well, that was a short cemetery visit, but hopefully a couple of interesting names there. The Charlie Smith thing was something I've always had a personal curiosity and fascination with, because nobody knows, and nobody probably ever will know, because there's no public records, of him or of his birth. So let me know in the comments what you think about that one. If you know about the story, please, by all means, add anything to it. But thanks so much for watching. Have happy holidays, and we'll catch you later. Have a good one, everybody.